This is Sarah. I started this ritual last year where at the end of summer I document something in cuneiform. Last year I did all of this pupa and moth accounting in spreadsheets. Anytime I found a caterpillar in the garden, I would bring them inside and care for them throughout their growth. So I actually kept track of exactly on what days caterpillars went down to pupate and when they came up out of the dirt to, be a moth. This year has been, as they should be, different things happened, different life milestones occurred. As much as last year was about tending to moths, which I'm still doing now, I have been paying a lot of attention to another creature that spawned in the garden this year, who is kind of my child now. A kitten came to us and started living in the Sprinkle Palace. And there was a point early in June when she came to us very hungry and we fed her, and I told her that if she wanted the greenhouse to be her home, she could stay and that she'd be safe there and we'd take care of her. And it seems like she accepted the offer because she's been around ever since. I gave her the nickname Sophia. So Sophia is the newest member of the family and the protector of the caterpillars and sprinkle tomatoes. Long story short, I want to document all of the milestones that have occurred in relation to having a cat around the house. Because I never in my life have had a cat. All of these memes that I've experienced throughout life, like, cats watching you poop, or like your cat getting dewormed for the first time, or your cat wearing a bell collar because they murder everything in the backyard for the first time.
No more murder.
I've never, shared a bed with a cat before.
You gonna help me play? Yeah.
Cooking her first batch of food was another milestone because she had kind of a tummy sensitivity, it seemed. So now we actually boil her chicken.
You want chicken? Chicken.
We mix it with pumpkin, just plain pumpkin.
Oh no.
And that seems to be pretty good for her digestion and stable. Mark actually just ordered a Halloween costume for her because it's about to be October.
What is that, Mark?
It's a little costume for my little girl.
We're both not the type of people to dress up an animal because they look like they hate that. Nevertheless,
because she's in personal hell.
Aww.
Sophie.
Wow. Yeah.
all of these fun milestones, I'm going to document them this year in cuneiform. I think I've mentioned this many times now, but I'm kind of an ancient civ nerd. I don't know. I'm very into ancient civilization, religious practices, spirituality, history in general, and what life was like for normal people back 2,000 to 4,000 years ago. My favorite of which is ancient Babylon, ancient Persia, Assyria, ancient Sumeria, that whole chunk of time. There was this Assyrian king known as Ashurbanipal, who is credited for being the king who commissioned the first mega library of the ancient world in Nineveh, and instead of having papyrus scrolls, it had cuneiform tablets, a collection of over 10,000 clay cuneiform tablets, and he curated these tablets from all over the world to just collect knowledge. And it's also noted that this library is one of the first such structures to have an indoor toilet near where all of the tablets were stored. So if you connect the dots, it kind of suggests that Ashurbanipal was the first documented human to probably poop and read at the same time, which makes Ashurbanipal probably my favorite ancient ruler of that time. So he was a librarian king, and that's pretty neat. I kind of think that, if you whisper your wishes to the universe, like sometimes it hears you and they end up kind of happening in one form or another. I want to say was it 2001? Wow, yeah. Okay, so in 2001, me and my bestie had a big binge of the game Hades, which was, I think, the current game of the year. Hades was a roguelike, run-based game that was set in ancient Greece. Mythology, culture, storytelling. It was just a cool world that you could go and visit by playing this game. And I remember sitting on the couch watching him play it and thinking to myself, wow, this is really great. I wish that there was a game like this, but with ancient Persian culture, the flavor caked into the environment in much the same way. And sure enough, the void heard me. Now, like 2-3 years later, at the beginning of this year, a new Prince of Persia game was released, which is a franchise that I've been used to since I was a child. It's called The Lost Crown. It, for me, is exactly like what I wanted, and I love it. Like, oh my God. So everything about this game is absolutely gorgeous. It's a side-scrolling game, so you navigate the environment just like you would any other Prince of Persia game that came before it. The world instantly places you in the Persia of antiquity, so whether you're roaming the city streets or citadels or catacombs or ruins, I keep stopping to study the background for all of its richness and detail. So while I've never been to Iran, I know that it has some notable mountainous regions, and there's no shortage of tall, snowy peaks in the background, which also gives the environment a lot of its character. You also pretty frequently run across cuneiform steles in the background that you can stop at and read for some additional historical context relevant to the story in the game, which is a detail that I personally appreciate. There are loads of sculptures, frescoes, mosaics, and statues of kings, deities, and mythological creatures, and gods. Many I recognize, but there's also some I don't. Like, I have no idea who this giant lady is, but I appreciate that she's there, and I really enjoy running past her big feet now and then. I did spot Lamassu at the city's gates, which made me chirp with glee. Lamassu are human-headed winged bulls who historically guard many ancient Persian city centers, and I'm really happy to have found these. They're a detail I'm glad that wasn't missed. It tickles all of my nerve endings and punches all of the buttons in the right way, so I'm very grateful that the universe made it and presented it to me. Thank you. They also released another Prince of Persia game, like, in the same time window. I think it was early this summer, which is a run-based game like Hades. When this game was released, they also published the soundtrack on YouTube, and that popped up in my feed, and I listened to it, and it's really, really good. When I was learning to make reeds and play the mizmar earlier this year, I learned all about the different Persian musical instruments, like the ney and the tanbur and the setar, all of which I'm now very familiar with how they sound. They kind of blended almost like Sufi or Persian folk music with dub or like electronic dance music. And the coolest thing about the soundtrack is that, you know, Lo-Fi Girl, right? When she's sitting at her desk, like doing her homework with her headphones on, just kind of like peacefully blissing out. They created a version of that where it's the character from the game, but he's sitting at his desk writing in cuneiform on a little piece of clay with a stylus, which is like, it makes my nerd heart flutter to see that they did that. So I've been listening to that soundtrack while I make my Sophia cuneiform tablets. Last year, I specifically stuck to the longer iPhone size format for the spreadsheets, and that made sense for that rendition. But I found this image in my feed at some point in time of kind of a post-it note sized slab I found this pretty quaint because that size format is something that I'm pretty used to. I take a lot of notes and dictation on Post-its, and they're kind of caked all over my desk. So I decided that I was going to document the majority of the Sophie experiences in this Post-it sized format. So I made a whole list of milestones that I wanted to document, and there's been quite a few. I spent a bit of time doing research on cuneiform glyphs, or symbols, that we have reliably translated. I then had to mine out any words that I thought I could use to convey any of my little milestone phrases that I had put on my list. The majority of them are going to be on the Post-it glyphs that have graphic depictions that describe what's taking place, and then the glyphs for the words with the dates etched into them. It's like cuneiform journaling on Post-its. But yeah, I wanted to share that. I also just enjoy playing with clay at this time of year because it's still pretty hot, even though, you know, it's going into October. I enjoy getting the pigment and the juice, like the clay juice, all over me. It's kind of something I look forward to now. I'm still terrified of clay because it has like a built-in timer to it. Like you can't just, you know, work it indefinitely. So this is the overall headspace for all of my cuneiform, really. I will post videos of the process of making these in one of my next videos. Me doing the stuff in clay, promise. So until my next video, keep making awesome stuff out there, and as always, thank you for watching.